Olá galera, tudo bom? Bom, hoje eu queria falar sobre um tema que eu tinha parado de falar já há um bom tempo, né? Eu havia publicado um vídeo ano passado, em fevereiro de 2020, sobre a situação, sobre a epidemia. Esse vídeo tinha sido na época o vídeo mais visualizado pelo meu canal durante várias semanas, né? Por algum motivo o YouTube simplesmente deixou de, como que eu diria, deixou de facilitar o acesso a esse vídeo, né? Ele não foi deletado, mas simplesmente a busca por esse vídeo nos mecanismos de buscas dos algoritmos do YouTube foi dificultado, né? Então, basicamente eu questionava sobre se a origem do vírus era um acaso natural ou se foi a origem artificial, né? E se foi artificial, se houve vazamento por acidente ou foi deliberado, né? Ou foi uma sabotagem, né? Enfim, hoje eu volto a falar desse tema porque após quase um ano e meio já tem sido mais aceita a hipótese de que esse vírus não tenha sido de origem natural e sim artificial, né? Finalmente, algumas mídias internacionais já estão aceitando essa hipótese como sendo a mais favorável, né? Eu vou mostrar então agora dois vídeos do Dr. Falso, que ele é o cabeça lá da NIH, que é o National Health Institute, lá dos Estados Unidos, né? É uma figura muito política e muita gente tem desgostado da postura dele. Da mesma forma que aquele cara lá, esqueci o nome lá, o diretor lá da WHO, né? Da Organização Mundial de Saúde, né? Todas figuras totalmente políticas e tem mais feito estrago no mundo com as informações errôneas, né? Então, bom, basicamente o que ocorreu, o vírus surgiu lá na China devido ao cruzamento de DNA com algumas componentes do vírus da AIDS, né? Isso inclusive um dos cientistas que eu vou mostrar também franceses chegou à conclusão, né? E também já havia outros artigos que eu tinha visto no ano passado, né? Não poder ter sido originado no mercado de Wuhan, primeiro porque não havia morcegos lá, nem pangolins, e segundo porque os primeiros casos das pessoas que manifestaram a doença sequer tinham relação com o mercado, ou seja, não passaram pelo mercado de Wuhan, né? Então você vê aí que a história lá tá mal contada, né? O vírus apareceu de repente, já tinha os hospitais lá já estavam pré-aprovados, foram construídos em tempo muito rápido, né? Já meio que prevendo a situação, e você vê alguns meses depois o lançamento da vacina chinesa, né? Pode ter sido já desenvolvida paralelamente ao surto da epidemia, né? Tem essa hipótese também. Então se questiona, então por que não soltaram antes? Para não ficar muito na cara, né? A gente já temos a doença, temos a vacina, vamos faturar bastante, mas vamos deixar alguns milhões de pessoas morrerem, né? Pode ter sido isso, né? E na carona, algumas outras empresas farmacêuticas, né? Algumas americanas, vocês sabem quais são as empresas que estão fornecendo a vacina, pegaram carona com isso aí, né? Então, cara, esse mundo é muito sujo, né? E eu não quero falar sobre vacinas, é outro tema muito controverso, né? eu tenho bastante informação, mas o meu canal é um canal de viagem, gente, não é um canal para falar sobre teorias, e mesmo porque não são teorias, né? São práticas conspiratórias. E então, assim, por um tempo eu deixei de falar sobre o assunto para não espalhar o que é chamado de mentira quando é verdade no canal de viagem, né? Mas e eu não queria levar ban no meu canal, né? Ah, enfim, que mais? Bom, por enquanto é isso. Assistam aí os 3 vídeos a seguir. Beleza, gente? Obrigado aí por assistir. E eu vou deixar também o link do vídeo do ano passado aqui na descrição para vocês derem uma revisada, né, que eu acho que é interessante, né, depois de ver o vídeo depois de quase 1 ano e meio. Beleza, gente?
Thanks all of you for being here. I think I'll direct this to Dr. Fauci, but I welcome everybody's answer. I just want to go through what we do know. We've heard a lot about what we don't know. So here are the things that we do know, okay? So SARS-1, we identified the host animal within 4 months. MERS, I believe we identified the host animal within 9 months. It's now been 15 and a half, 16 months. We've still not seen, and China's not produced any evidence of the host animal that transmitted COVID-19 to a human. We know that China has a history of lab accidents. I think, Dr. Fauci, you answered Senator Graham's question. I think he phrased it as, has there ever been a pandemic that came out of a laboratory? And the answer was no. But we do know of outbreaks that came out of a laboratory. I believe back in 2004, 2 researchers in Beijing were infected doing research on SARS and led to an outbreak. China has a history of lab accidents. This outbreak happened in a city that happened to be the home, coincidentally, of a lab which we know is involved in extensive research. And what they do is they take this naturally occurring virus and they manipulate it and they change it to make it infectious to humans. We know that they do that there. They've published about it. And it also happened in a city, in a lab, where a Rutgers biosecurity expert raised concerns about its safety. And our diplomats in 2018 were cabling back to Washington expressing concern about the safety. So I take all those facts together, right? SARS, we knew the host in 4 months. MERS, we knew the host in 9. We still don't know the host for COVID, even though, and China's not being transparent about it, even though they have a vested interest in producing the host, so they can put all those down. In a lab that we know is involved in changing viruses synthetically so that they become infectious for humans. In a lab that diplomats have told us is unsafe, and a country that had a history of lab leaks. And by the way, in a virus that we know can be synthetically created because the Swiss did it. The Swiss created an exact replica of this virus in the lab for purposes of answering it. All of these facts were available to us last April. Why? I'll start with Dr. Fauci. Why did you dismiss the lab leak theory as credible?
I have always said that the high likelihood is that this is a natural occurrence. I didn't dismiss anything. I just said it's a high likelihood that this is a natural occurrence from the environment of an animal reservoir that we have not yet identified. Well, and I still maintain that. But as I just mentioned in response to other questions, that since you don't know 100% about that, because no one knows, including me, 100%, what the origin is the reason why we're in favor of further investigation.
Well, given everything I've just cited, and if anything I just cited is incorrect, I hope it'll be correct that I'm relying, obviously it's not my field of study, so I'm relying on what other experts have published. What is the basis for this what is the basis for the conclusion that it is likelier to have been naturally occurring than a lab accident? I asked a specific question to the Director of National Intelligence, and how I posed it is it not true that it is the assessment that they are equally likely based on our information that we have? So as I outline all of these things here, is she wrong when she answered me yes? And based on everything I've just cited, what is it that we're basing the higher likelihood of naturally occurring? Is it simply because that's all we've ever seen in the past?
Well, we have historical experience that happened with SARS-CoV-1. It happened with MERS. It happened with HIV. It happened with virtually all the influenza pandemics. So the historical basis for pandemics evolving naturally from an animal reservoir is extremely strong. And it's for that reason that we felt that something similar like this has a much higher likelihood. But again, getting back to what I said, and let me repeat so there's no lack of clarity in that, no one knows, not even I, 100% at this point, which is the reason why we are in favor of further investigation.
But going back to precedent, the precedents require them to be similar. The difference between this one and that one is, and as I said, 4 months we knew the host for SARS, 9 months we knew the host for MERS. China has all the incentive in the world to produce this host and hasn't done so. And then you add up all these other things. I mean, is it just a coincidence that happened in the city that's doing this kind of research, which, by the way, is controversial? I know you and others have been supportive of it, but it's controversial. It's not widely accepted as good. My whole point is there are people out there who had Facebook posts taken down, were called kooks, conspiracy theorists, for saying publicly a year ago what we now say may be possible. And I think those people deserve an apology at a minimum. Thank you.
Senator Paul.
Dr. Fauci, we don't know whether the pandemic started in a lab in Wuhan or evolved naturally, but we should want to know. 3 million people have died from this pandemic, and that should cause us to explore all possibilities. Instead, government authorities, self-interested in continuing gain-of-function research, say there's nothing to see here. Gain-of-function research, as you know, is juicing up naturally occurring animal viruses to infect humans. To arrive at the truth, the U.S. government should admit that the Wuhan Virology Institute was experimenting to enhance the coronavirus's ability to infect humans. Juicing up superviruses is not new. Scientists in the U.S. have long known how to mutate animal viruses to infect humans. For years, Dr. Ralph Barrick, a virologist in the U.S., has been collaborating with Dr. Shi Zhengli of the Wuhan Virology Institute, sharing his discoveries about how to create superviruses. This gain-of-function research has been funded by the NIH. The collaboration between the U.S. and the Wuhan Virology Institute continues. Doctors Barrick and Shi worked together to insert bat virus spike protein into the backbone of the deadly SARS virus, and then use this man-made supervirus to infect human airway cells. Think about that for a moment. The SARS virus had a 15% mortality. We're fighting a pandemic that has about a 1% mortality. Can you imagine if a SARS virus that's been juiced up and had viral proteins added to it, to the spike protein, if that were released accidentally? Dr. Fauci, do you still support funding of the NIH funding of the lab in Wuhan?
Senator Paul, with all due respect, you are entirely and completely incorrect that the NIH has not ever and does not now fund gain-of-function research in the Wuhan Institute
Do they fund
of
Dr.
Virology.
Barrick?
We do not fund
Do you fund Dr. Barrick's gain-of-function research?
Dr. Barrett does not doing gain-of-function research, and if it is, it's according to the guidelines, and it is being conducted in North Carolina, not
You don't think
in
inserting
China.
a bat virus spike protein that he got from the Wuhan Institute into the SARS virus is gain-of-function?
That is
You would be
not-
in the minority because at least 200 scientists have signed a statement from the Cambridge Working Group saying that it is gain-of-function.
Well, it is not. And if you look at the grant and you look at the progress reports, it is not gain-of-function, despite the fact that people tweet that.
So
they
do
write
you still
about it.
support sending money to the Wuhan Virology Institute?
We do not send money now to the Wuhan
Do you
Virology
support
Institute.
sending money? We did under your tutelage. We were sending it through EcoHealth. It was a sub-agency and a sub-grant. Do you support the money from NIH that was going to the Wuhan Institute?
Let me explain to you why that was done. The SARS-CoV-1 originated in bats in China. It would have been irresponsible of us if we did not investigate the bat viruses and the serology to see who might have been
Or
infected.
perhaps it would be
in China.
irresponsible to send it to the Chinese government that we may not be able to trust with this knowledge and with this incredibly dangerous viruses. Government scientists like yourself who favor gain-of-function research.
I don't favor
maintain
gain-of-function research
that
in
the
China.
disease
You are
arose
saying
naturally.
things that are not correct.
Government defenders of gain-of-function, such as yourself, say that COVID-19 mutations were random and not designed by man. But interestingly, the technique that Dr. Barrick developed forces mutations by serial passage through cell culture that the mutations appear to be natural. In fact, Dr. Barrick named the technique the no-see-em technique because the mutations appear naturally. Nicholas Baker in the New York Magazine said nobody would know if the virus had been fabricated in a laboratory or grown in nature. Government authorities in the U.S., including yourself, unequivocally deny that COVID-19 could have escaped a lab. But even Dr. Shi in Wuhan wasn't so sure. According to Nicholas Baker, Dr. Shi wondered, could this new virus have come from her own laboratory? She checked her records frantically and found no matches. That really took a load off my mind, she said. I had not slept for days. The director of the gain-of-function research in Wuhan couldn't sleep because she was terrified that it might be in her lab. Dr. Barrick, an advocate of gain-of-function research, admits the main problem that the Institute of Virology has is the outbreak occurred in close proximity. What are the odds? Barrick responded, could you rule out a laboratory escape? The answer in this case is probably not. Will you, in front of this group, categorically say that the COVID-19 could not have occurred through serial passage in a laboratory?
I do not have any accounting of what the Chinese may have done, and I'm fully in favor of any further investigation of what went on in China. However, I will repeat again, the NIH and NIAID categorically has not funded gain-of-function research to be conducted in the Wuhan Institute of
But you
Virology.
do support it in the U.S. We have 11 labs doing it, and you have allowed it here. We have a committee to do it, but the committee has granted every exemption. You're fooling with Mother Nature here. You're allowing super viruses to be created with a 15% mortality. It's very dangerous. I think it was a huge mistake to share this with China, and it's a huge mistake to allow this to continue in the United States. And we should be very careful to investigate where this virus came from.
I fully agree that you should investigate where the virus came from. But again, we have not funded gain-of-function research on this virus in the Wuhan Institute of Virology, no matter how many times
You're parsing
you say
words.
it.
There
it
was
didn't happen.
research. There was research done with Dr. Shi and Dr. Barrick. They have collaborated on gain-of-function research where they enhanced the SARS virus to infect human airway cells, and they did it by merging a new spike protein on it. That is gain-of-function. That was joint research between the Wuhan Institute and Dr. Barrick. You can't deny it.
Senator Paul, your time has expired. Dr. Fauci, I will let you respond to that when we need to move on.
Excuse me?
I will allow you to respond to that, and then we'll move on.
Yeah, I mean, I just wanted to say, I don't know how many times I can say it, Madam Chair. We did not fund gain-of-function research to be conducted in the Wuhan Institute of Virology.
Agora vejam esse quadro aí da evolução do PIB chinês em 2020 e 2021. Cara, eles conseguiram em 2021 até agora 18%. Né? Então, se foi planejado ou não, parabéns para a China. Se foi planejado, conseguiram atingir o intento deles de crescimento do PIB, né? Às custas de muita mortalidade aí.
Subscribe, dando thumbs up. Não se esqueça de se inscrever e deixar o like. Obrigado. 订阅和按赞。驚くといいねお願いします。Suscríbete y dale me gusta, porfa. Suscríbete y lâchame piace, por favor.